Everybody turn your microphones on, please. We're going to call the Town of Rome Board meeting to order for Thursday, August 5th at 5 o'clock. Number 2, roll call from my left, please.
Wiesinger here.
Minter here.
Asdell here.
Goldman here.
Bauerheit here.
Number 3, certify posting of the meeting, please.
I certify that on Friday, July 30th, 2021, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board meeting for Thursday, August 5th, 2021 was emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 3:18 p.m., posted at Rome Town Hall at 3:25 p.m., at Pritzel's Trading Post at 3:50 p.m., and at Nakusa Port Edwards State Bank at 3:56 p.m.
Number 4, approve the agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve is printed.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, please stand for pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good thing I'm not leading it.
Number 6, citizen comments. And we do have a few here, during the citizen comment period of the agenda, the town board welcomes comments from any town resident, not a member of the town board, on any item not on the agenda. Please know that pursuant to state law, the board cannot engage in conversation with you, but may ask questions. The board may refer the item to staff, a standing committee, or a future board agenda for discussion and action. Each person wishing to speak will have up to 3 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to submit a card to the clerk treasurer providing their name, address, and topic for discussion. The board will also take comment from the public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during citizen comment. Please note that once the board begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. We have our first one here. Lloyd Giamatti, would you step to the podium, please?
Good evening. Tonight I'd like to speak to you about the condition.
Name and address, please. Name and address.
I'm Lori. Pardon?
Protocol.
I should remember that. Sorry. Lori Giamatti, 1647 Hornet Trail. Tonight I'd just like to speak to you about the condition and appearance of Highway 13D and Alpine. I know that Highway 13 and D are the responsibility of the Highway Commissioner, Pat Kutlowski. Oh, I'm sorry. And Alpine is ours. In 2015, we had begun working on the Gateway District. And as part of that discussion was also beautification and how the corner of Highway 13D and Alpine is what most people see and remember when they think of Rome and they come into town. I don't specifically recall the details, but I do. But I thought at the time our previous Public Works Director had made some sort of arrangements with Highway Commissioner Kutlowski that as time and staff permitted, we would assist with the weed control in the medians. We had planters on the corners that showed town pride, and it made it look welcoming. And now we have weeds that if they do continue to grow at this rate, by Christmas time they may be tall enough and woody enough that we could possibly put ornaments on them. Just make you laugh a little. You look a little serious tonight. You do have a serious agenda. But anyway, Gordy Carlson is our county board supervisor, and he is the chair of the highway committee. Maybe he could possibly be a point person that Jamie or our current public works director could work with, that we may be allowed, as time and again staff permits, that we could work with him to help us work on that, because it is starting to look really bad again. And it might be something nice that we could consider spending some time on to make it look nice. So I would appreciate if possibly you could get that conversation going and making our town look more welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? John Fahey, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Please step to the podium.
Thank you. John Fahey, 1122 West Queens Way. First and foremost, thank you guys for what you do. My family has been part of the Rome community for about 20 years now, and we love it. We love the change that we've seen. We welcome the things that you guys are doing. We're excited to see the Up North Brewery hopefully come to fruit, as I've been reading the minutes and following it. I come before you tonight to talk a little bit about new construction. We're gonna see a lot of that here. We're gonna see a lot of it because you guys have done your job of making this an attractive place. I have a new home going up next to me, and the guy's doing a beautiful job. We're having a little issue on water drainage. And I spoke with the zoning officer, and he said there's not much he can do about it. I spoke with the building code official, and Dan, and he said there's not much he could do about it. There's nothing in place in the town of Rome code that requires a drainage plan for new construction in residential areas, what I've been told. And I think it's important. My neighbor kept his foundation about 3 foot higher than my house. After 20 years, we did get a flood last week in that heavy rain. For the first time, we had water in our garage. And I'm not saying that it's Dan's, the gentleman's building's issue, or that he was the cause of it. And we did have some discussions. And what the builder has told me is that he's had no direction from the village on where to drain the water or how to do it. And also, I guess the full thing is there's also Adams County Shoreline Protection District that's involved with it. So I just think as our community continues to grow, I'd like you guys to consider new construction drainage requirements. It's a pretty common building practices in more dense towns. And I think what we're gonna see, again, because of your guys' hard work, you're gonna see houses being bought and torn down and bigger ones being built. And if we all work together and the builders know when they're coming in the beginning that they're gonna have to be cognizant of where the water is that's coming off their property is going to go, and not just say, well, it goes to the neighbors. I was a little bit disheartened when I talked to the building inspector, and he told me that it's a civil issue, that I should sue Mr. Thalen if water comes to my house. And in Mr. Thalen's defense, he's doing what the village has told him to do to meet his building permit. So there's a little disconnect. I'm not pointing any fingers. I just think that if we work together, you guys could work with Greg and Dan, your officials, and say, hey, we have to be cognizant that I won't be the last one to come before you with a drainage issue. And I talked to my neighbor, Dan, that's building, and we're not angry with each other, but they're kind of at a loss. When I did this in my previous life, when I was building homes, it was very common for me to come before the village with a drainage plan once the foundation was in, to say, all right, well, where's all the water going? And they kept, if you want to keep your foundation up high, that's great. I understand that, and I'd probably want to do the same. But now you're causing water to run off to your neighbors. How are you going to make that run to the road and not to your neighbor's property? Not looking for any answers today, but again, to thank you guys. We love this community. We're not going anywhere. I imagine my kids will be here long after I'm gone because they learn to water ski on Lake Sherwood, and we love it. So that's all my comments, and if you have any questions, I can answer for you.
Anybody have any questions?
Good idea.
Yeah, can we look into this? And I have a question though, the county has a mitigation plan, don't they, for runoff? I thought the county did.
During building, they have
During
mitigation
building?
plans, but not,
Yeah, but
not
during-
permanently.
Right.
Right, he does have the silt fence up, and I did talk to, I think his name is Dustin down at the county, and he said that his requirements are just that he uses natural product in between. It's not where the water's
But-
going, it's what he puts into the.
You're thinking of within
Impervious,
300 feet. Yeah, it's
No, no, no,
impervious
The
surface,
impervious surface.
but
part,
that
yeah.
doesn't necessarily
Doesn't apply?
cover grading.
No.
Well,
We can discuss it as staff. I see Attorney Flanagan made a note also.
Thank you guys, I
It's a good
appreciate
idea.
your time, yeah. Gotta beat the crowd over to do something.
There you go.
No action contemplated except possible referral to future agenda, information, updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Jerry, would you like to start?
Yeah, the 14-mile watershed committee, along with the town of Rome and Tri-Lakes, will be sponsoring your annual State of Our Lakes luncheon on Saturday, this coming Saturday, at the Town Center Park, gazebo. It'll be from 9 to 1 o'clock. There'll be a lot of information shared by some speakers, and then there'll be a free lunch after that. So come and get some information about our water in the lakes and what you can do to help correct the problems we've had. Thank you.
Dan?
Had an email from the library director, I think it was either yesterday or this morning, that they have hired their teenage library assistant. So they're looking forward to working with him. I don't have my email pulled up to see what his name was, but he started, and they seem, he seems enthused, and they seem enthused to have a teenager there to help maybe build the youth programs more at the library.
Colton is his.
Colton, thank you.
I have nothing, Dan.
Lake Camelot Frolics coming up quick here, Saturday, August 21st. Fishing tournament kicks it off first thing early in the morning, and horseshoe tournaments, bags tournaments, volleyball tournaments, raffles, kids games, bands throughout the day. Shermalot ski team skis at 4:30, so hope to see everybody there. And other than that, we had our utility committee meeting earlier this week, and we've engaged with the outside consulting firm that I mentioned previously to kind of help us through the beginning stages of putting together real numbers towards an expansion of the water utility.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Visit Rome for sponsoring a pop-up concert this weekend on Saturday. Starts at 5 o'clock at the Rome Town Center gazebo. And it's really a fundraiser for the parks and specifically to help us get the band shell going in the future. So thanks to them. There's going to be a band there. I think it's southbound.
Southbound.
And from 5 until
8.
8 or until later on if it keeps going. Thanks.
Jamie, Jiffin?
Yep, I just had one item just following up on the utilities meeting. I did bring the map in here for the potential expansion of the natural gas line to the southwest corner of town. You may have remembered that we needed to hit a target number of residential customers that would sign on in order to make the main line cost-free. Customers that would be joining would get the first 100 feet into their yard. After that, the conversion cost and if they had additional footage would be of their cost. We are very close to reaching that 86 number. So if you could glance at the map on your way out today, and if you knew anybody in the area that maybe has not responded yet to We Energies with their interest, we need to get a couple more yeses in order to make that natural gas expansion happen. I don't know that we'll ever get this close again, so we're really trying to work hard in these last few weeks to get the word out and to get a couple more people to sign on to say yes.
If you want, Jimmy, I'll follow up with my one contact that we were talking about.
Be great.
Okay.
Yep.
Discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 8, discussion and action approval of the July 15th, 2021 meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, discussion and action, checks, vouchers, receipts, and journal entries. Approved checks number 43210 through 43291 totaling $379,470.19. Auto payments totaling $58,329.58. State Social Security Medicare withholdings totaling $58,949.83. Payroll vouchers V17,381 through V17,563 totaling $139,432.80. And checks number 21628 through 21630 totaling $2,479.02. Receipts number 22308 through 22421 totaling $629,592.85. Can we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, discussion and possible action, conversation regarding potential available grant opportunities that the town should consider and or apply towards. Brought this up, I'd like to see, we know about Knowles Nelson, we found out recently about some other DNR grants that we didn't know about earlier. We have no idea what other grants are out there, so throwing it open for discussion on items you think are worthy of possible grant funding or going after grants or any new ideas. Again, we don't have to come up with solutions tonight, but just thought processes. I've got a couple in mind already, but see if anybody else has
The
got any
Knowles
thoughts.
Nelson grant opportunity closes May 1st next year, so we have until May 1st to write any grants in that that we want. We had previously, a year before last, had a Knowles Nelson grant request for parks, And I will renew that by May 1st for next year and see what we can get for parks. But that's aside from the other possibilities that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not aware of all that are out there. I mean, I know there's more, but understanding there's probably more federal ones out there than we're aware of, but
Does WTA keep a list of grants that are out, or do any of the associations that either the town or we as supervisors belong to have anything?
Wisconsin Towns Association, I think, does a good job of sharing when they find ones that are relevant. Do they keep like an ongoing list? I'd have to ask them that question, but they usually do share if there's something that comes up that they feel would be relevant to their communities. Sometimes we're just having this conversation coincidentally at the Community Development Authority, but sometimes those opportunities aren't always available to us for a variety of reasons. We were talking about opportunity zones and how our average household income is higher, and sometimes some of those grant opportunities require that you have a certain category of area or income level, and so they aren't available to us.
Yeah, I think Brad too writes several grants for dare crews there each year, right?
Yes, and those are very specific for ATV registrations. They have to go for ATV or motorcycle related parks. So that's why when you pay your fees, when you pay your registration fees, a piece of it goes into that grant fund. The same is true for, coincidentally, WTA, but Wisconsin Trap Shooters Association. When you buy ammo, there's a piece of that goes into a grant fund that they can apply for.
And we're also in the process of preparing a grant for development at Walden Pond or Walden Lake over there for canoe and kayak entry. And that would be probably with Visit Rome. So there is opportunities with Visit Rome for grants. They've had several this year that they've granted.
one of the other sources obviously is Legacy Foundation. I mean, they've got funds available. Shouldn't say available. They have funds and how they intend to use them. Some of the thoughts I had, I was thinking possibly a campground over by Syracuse. I've been down there and seen what the ATVs are capable of doing. I've talked to several people in the area, ATVers, and some folks actually I talked to that are in the Rapids Motorcycle Club, whatever it is. Some folks that have been with them for years, and they thought that would be a great idea. Start out small, also for a parking lot in that area to load and unload ATVs to access the trails. That's one thought. Another one was a park at Anawa and Z. There's a 50-acre parcel there. Thanks, Lori, for filling me in on that one. It is a lovely looking piece of land. It does give you, again, access into the water there. Twin Lakes, I guess it is. You need four-wheel drive right now to get back there, but once you do get back there, it's interesting. I think it's got a lot of potential. So I understand Knowles Nelson does offer grants for items like that too. So just thoughts, bring back please next meeting or down the road and think about it, see what else we can come up with. So any other questions on that one? Okay, number 11, discussion and possible action, update on future ambulance service considerations, including received requests for proposals and update on current services agreement. Jamie?
Okay, so there's a lot to go through tonight. We will probably take a step ahead of the ambulance services subcommittee because we have gotten some additional information, but we kind of have to keep proceeding along here. So I do want to just take these agenda in slightly different order, talk about current service agreement and then RFP. So regarding current service agreement, I think we were all aware that the ambulance was not returning for the month of August. Chief of the Nakusa Ambulance System was at the meeting, the last ambulance services subcommittee meeting, and stated that he felt like the ambulance would not return this year. We would still be serviced out of the city of Nakusa station, but they would not return due to financial and staffing implications there. Part of that they had shared with us with the original withdrawal of the ambulance from our station was an update to their operational plan. At their public safety meeting this week, they shared that update to the operational plan is completed. That would be for a basic life support ambulance And it would be submitted to the state this week. They expect it would take about 2 weeks to be approved, and that would be the service that would be provided out of the city of Nakusa. Once that ambulance that updated operational agreement would be signed into place, the city of Nakusa would ask for an attachment to it for a flex agreement. So what that flex agreement allows for through state statute is that if they had a paramedic on the service at that time, they could operate at a paramedic level. But they would still be a basic life support ambulance, just that the person that would be staffing the ambulance could flex their services depending on their skill level. So the chief of the Nakusa Ambulance Service will be at our next meeting to share with you that change to the operational plan. It is required that they meet with all of the municipalities to share that change. I was sort of thinking that would happen before the actual change went into place, but he will be here at the next meeting to share that.
Sorry, when is the change effective?
Could be as soon as 2 weeks. So it was going to be signed this week. It has to be signed by Nakusa Ambulance and by their medical physician provider who is out of Aspirus, out of the emergency department. And then it goes to file with the state. The state reviews it, and once they mark it that it's filed, it goes into effect. They felt that turnaround would be approximately 2 weeks.
And this gives us an option to terminate that contract at any point?
I think that the current agreement that they have in place, as I understand it with the city of Wisconsin Rapids, does not, because I think the city of Wisconsin Rapids agreement that they have is to provide paramedic level if they do not have paramedic level that leaves Nakusa. So my understanding is that that contract is through October.
I think,
But they are also, as I understand it, in discussions with the city. I don't know the details of it, other than that's the duration that the current agreement that they have with the city of Wisconsin Rapids is. My answer then to your question is, as long as that agreement is still in place, they are, as I understand it, sending paramedic level where, from Wisconsin Rapids, if they don't have it at Nakusa.
I disagree with that.
Sorry.
yeah, I think Dan's right. I think we could opt out of it earlier if we wanted to, since they're changing the level of
They have-
service that we're getting.
They're not providing us an ALS service through their mutual aid agreement unless they're guaranteeing that only RAPS is gonna respond to our calls, so.
I think we'd have to see the city of Wisconsin
I mean,
Rapids
it would-
agreement, because my understanding is from the chief's, the Nakusa Fire Chief's statements is that they do have an agreement with the city of Wisconsin Rapids to provide that level, where they don't have that level out of Nakusa.
My only interest is in making sure we've got flexibility to move when we need to.
Of course, understand, and I think I still think we need to see that copy of that
And
agreement.
given the
which
fact we
passed.
really don't have a written contract with them anyway, all we have is a memorandum of understanding.
No,
Well, that's
we have a
layered on
written
top of the contract.
The written contract is what controls here.
We do have that? We've never seen it.
Place an ambulance in Rome was,
Okay,
That was the MOU.
That was the MOU.
okay.
Yeah, but we do have an agreement. That was signed, well, now 5 years ago.
What's the response time difference between Nakusa and Wisconsin Rapids for paramedic level?
I think it varies on the location of the call and
Mark probably knows.
The Wisconsin Rapids can respond effectively.
do you wanna come up to the
Sure.
mic, Mark? Thank you.
We have seen that Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department ambulance service can respond as timely as an ambulance coming out of the city of Nakusa, due to the fact that their staff is constantly in-house and ready to go, versus the sometimes response from home, which could put up to a 6 to 8 minute delay to the ambulance ever leaving the station. And and then being able, then the 12-minute transport, or 12-minute travel time that would go from the city of Nakusa Public Safety Center, and that 12-minute time gets you right here to Rome to the Rome Town Hall complex. That's a 12-minute ride in an ambulance to get down here.
So I can help quantify what you're saying, because we got those reports finally from Nakusa. And what I saw year to date through the end of June, total response time from dispatch to on scene was averaging about 13 and a quarter minutes. Dispatch to en route was just shy of 5, and then en route to scene was just shy of 9. So that makes complete sense that Rapids being manned could be en route immediately.
And some of these calls are likely, as I had put in the memo, were responded to by Wisconsin Rapids Ambulance. It's just that they have to check those individually.
But it's very hard to, the data is not as granular as I guess I was expecting it to be.
That's the average, what's the range?
I'd have to.
It's
look
all
at
over the
data.
place.
Yeah, it's all over, yeah.
So, what's that telling you?
Well, my primary intent in wanting this data, you really can't tell there, because from what I understand is that there wasn't one unit number that was stationed out here. It just says these are the calls to Rome, and the unit numbers, there's nothing that says it came
We
from the Rome
can't tell
station.
whether they're dispatched from Nakusa or Rome.
But just on those data sets, in each month, the variation, I mean, the shortest average response time was May at 11.44, and the longest was June at 14.4, and then January through March were, bouncing around in the 12 to 13 minute range. So it's really hard to say that by not having an ambulance here, there's been any measurable impact. And there were staffing holes all throughout this period of time, right? Where maybe there would have been an ambulance here, but it wasn't manned.
Yes.
So
That would be true. There are likely times when it was not manned. We know there were times when it was not manned.
But like I said, what I was expecting to get from Nakusa was a listing of here's all our calls to Rome, here's where it was responded from, and then the data that goes with that. So,
Jason, any question back?
I reviewed that data set that Dan was looking at, and I questioned the credibility of that data because my officers kept logs over there at the times and they don't match what's on that sheet. That's what they enter into their records management program, so I don't know if they get those times off of their wristwatch or where they're gathering them from, but certainly I've seen times from Nakusa, and the average time from there is 26 minutes from the time of the page until they arrive here, certainly not 13. If you drive it in your car, if you went to that station and parked in the parking lot and drove it, those ambulances are governed, they don't go 100 miles an hour down Z, so to get a 14-minute response time out of Nakusa, that's not happening. That's probably the response time out of here with people traveling from home to this station and then going out. But certainly out of Nakusa, I would estimate it's closer to the 28-minute mark, and Wisconsin Rapids generally beats that, as Mark said, because they're staffed in their station 24/7 and have an expectation to leave immediately, not drive into a station and then start an ambulance and leave. They're ready to roll. Yeah. But I would question the credibility of those numbers. I would think all of those are the Rome station, or the majority of, and not the Nakusa.
yeah, and there's no column header on any of that data that would indicate here's the station that it was.
Yeah, the one experience we had was close to a half an hour, I can tell you that.
So I did include in the memo, but just Nakusa Ambulance did also release that for next year, then their per cap would be that $22, and that they do not foresee returning to the town of Rome at that $22 rate. We had a lot of conversation at the public safety meeting about, have they asked municipalities, the 12 that they represent, 22 they said covers their expenses. Have they asked the municipalities, would you consider 24, and this is what you would get for it? If you paid 26 per capita, this would be the additions. What would that number be? What would that number be to have an ambulance placed back here in Rome? They really felt like it wasn't a cost issue, it's a staffing issue. They said it likely would be over $300,000 for them to staff the ambulance back here in Rome, but it isn't, for them, they felt like it was more of a staffing issue than it was a cost issue about individuals. We had a lot of conversation around that at the public safety meeting, but I just wanted to share with you what was discussed there. Again, the chief for the ambulance service will be here. He is required to meet with all of the municipalities because of this change in the operational plan. It's part of the agreement of the operational plan. And as we've already mentioned, that they do have that service agreement with Wisconsin Rapids Fire that does run through October. They did say that they would like to have some changes to that agreement after October. but they were expressing already that Wisconsin, they have some concern about the amount of overtime that's causing for Wisconsin Rapids, for their fire department to respond to those calls. They have some concerns around that. So the other piece of that conversation that came up,
Quick question, who pays for the overtime?
the city was considering if they would make if they would make a payment to Wisconsin Rapids for that
Nakusa?
overtime cost. Yes,
Do you see that happening?
that's a city council decision.
Yeah.
So the other piece of the conversation from that evening was an EMS district. What would it mean if municipalities came together and formed an EMS district? There was a conversation about is the chief of Nakusa Ambulance asking that question as he's meeting with all of the municipalities, would they be interested in forming a district? Which they did agree that he would ask that question. I think that's also a question that we need to ask. Do we want to take the lead on that? Do we want to reach out to other municipalities and have that conversation about what an ambulance district would mean? I leave that at the end of this because then I want to roll into the response to our RFP. We did get one response from United, which you were provided, and there was some follow-up questions to that. I think there might be a representative here from United tonight too. But so two of the follow-up questions were sending financials to Ellers, 3 years of financials to Ellers as an independent review. We do not see those records. We will not see those records. It's Greg Johnson, who we work with on many, many things here in the town, who provided an independent evaluation of those. So that piece was handled, and then asking about if we were cooperative with Big Flats and Monroe, both towns of Big Flats and towns of Monroe. And I did provide some information to United to get that information back. So first, Greg Johnson has replied back to me. He sees no concerns in financials. He has a good understanding, and I had a conversation with United's auditor who takes care of their books. And he did not see any concerns with the financials that were provided. And then in addition to that, United did reply back to that cost piece and said if we were interested in continuing with Big Flats and Monroe, again, that's a conversation for their respective towns, that they would ask that we would also form an alliance or an ambulance board. So similar to ambulance district, similar to the cooperation that exists north of us and south of us. And then did provide some numbers of what that would mean and provided what that per capita would be for us and then a total cost for Big Flats and Monroe. I wanted to have the conversation with you first. This came in this late last night, so I received it early this morning, and we'll share it out with their respective chairmans after this.
Okay, so I have some comments just in relationship to the notion of an EMS cooperative, I'll call it. But so as you just mentioned, there is this wonderful thing just to the south of us called the Adams County Ambulance Board. And they're on year 2 of a 5-year agreement with Lifestar. That board is made up of the city of Adams, Village Friendship, towns of Adams, Quincy, Strongs Prairie, Preston, Easton, Springville, Lincoln, and Newchester, for a total population of 11,570 people. So their year 1 cost was $301,000 or $26.04 per capita. And there's escalation in that each year. It was between 1 3/4 and 3%. But ultimately, in year 5, they're at $28.46 per capita. In that agreement requires 2 ALS ambulances to be staffed 24/7, and 1 ambulance is permitted to conduct interfacility transfers. I'm bringing that as a point of note because that was brought up at previous meetings. Requires mutual aid agreements to be in place, dispatched through Adams County Sheriff's Office, so the infrastructure is all in place. One thing I didn't see in there was response time requirements. I'm just noting that. I don't know why at this point, especially if Monroe and Big Flats are interested in making some sort of move to retain an ALS service, that we wouldn't be engaging the Adams County Ambulance Board along with Lifestar to try and negotiate an interim agreement that leads to a longer term agreement in a larger cooperative for better bargaining power. I really don't understand why we wouldn't do that.
Lifestar did have an opportunity to respond to our RFP though, and they did not.
well, all of these services around here had an opportunity and they did not, then I'd like to better understand why they didn't. And I'd also like to understand why we're seeing the costs that we're seeing. I have my assumptions I can make because we'd be a bit of an island for United, I think, but perhaps if the representative that's here has anything to add.
Would you like to come up to the mic?
I don't
just-
want to put you on the spot, but
And Supervisor, could you just repeat what was that per cap cost then? And that per cap cost is the same for every municipality that participates? Okay.
yeah, 2604 is what they started at, and then it escalates to
So they're in year 2 of
They're
year 5,
at a
and so there's
5-year agreement, yeah.
so it's higher than that now, but it's
December
just a-
31st, 2024 is the end of that agreement.
I guess what you want me to answer to is that, like why the numbers, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm one of the shift officers that work on the proposal. The financial part of it, I did come down here to kind of answer some of the basic questions about more like operation side of this. If you guys have a question with that, the financials, unfortunately, Gary Johnson's the owner, he had another meeting to be at tonight, so he couldn't be here, but any financial questions I can direct to him. If you give me specifics, I can have him get answers back to you. A lot of it, I'm sure you're well aware, is just being able to staff an ambulance down here for you and the cost of personnel and things like that, so.
Right. I mean,
In a nutshell.
based on what I just said, and maybe you know where we're coming from or not.
Right.
Right now, we're paying $16 per capita, which
Right.
is ridiculously cheap. But let's be honest, right?
Ridiculously cheap, and unfortunately you have an empty barn right now too,
Right. So,
so.
but to go from 16 to say the other communities participated with the recent number, given 5801, that's huge for us.
Correct,
So,
I see what you're saying, yes.
yeah, and the last line of the response to the RFP said, "This is negotiable."
Well,
So we would want to know, okay, what is negotiable, and can we get to somewhere more reasonable? And if not, we need to be looking at other options, right? So,
Sure. So yeah, if you had specific questions I can bring back to Gary, we can definitely.
is there anything? So obviously you participated in putting this together. Was there anything in there in the language we provided that you guys interpreted as non-standard or?
It seemed pretty straightforward, little unusual that we actually go out to the municipality and they say, well, here's a building you can use, here's, equipment you can use, that kind of stuff. But the requirements you asked, like for response times and staffing, is pretty fluid for us. The way we run staffing, because that was one of the questions that was brought back to us, more for clarification, we have people that are, well, I'm gonna use the word full-time, but it's not like you think of like a full-time job with benefits and stuff. So when I say full-time, it's like basically an hourly wage. So a combination of that, a combination of paid on call, but paid on call being the fact that it's not like, okay, a page goes out, who shows up? You are actually scheduled on our scheduler, and that's the way we run it. We run this since 1980 this way with UP Higgins Ambulance and now United. We sign for what's your availability. We go through and schedule every 2 weeks, so the ambulance are staffed and scheduled as such. You know what your schedule will be. You know when you're gonna go. We run out of our station. We run out of home. But when we run out of home, we don't go get an ambulance. The ambulance is with us. We're in the field. So our response time is barely, I walk out the door, I'm in the regular, boom, off we go to the call. So there's not that delay that you have. You have somebody to come down to the station and get an ambulance. So that's kind of like the staffing side of it, at least. Everything else you had in the RFP pretty much made sense. We hopefully answered to the best we could for you though, so.
What, so speaking of staffing, because that's, everybody's problem, no matter
Right.
what industry we're talking about, do you guys have any challenges right now? Or?
Oh, there's always challenges, but we always manage to make sure it is full. We run a little smaller than Nakusa does. We always have 2 ambulances staffed, so we can get out the door right away. Up to sometimes 4 ambulances staffed. It all depends on day, time, that kind of stuff. But we always hold to our agreement of having the first 2 at least staffed.
So if you're responding from home, as you mentioned in your previous example, where does your second crewman meet
Basically,
up?
it's close proximity to us. So most of us live in a fairly close geographical area. So if I'm en route, we'll meet somewhere on the way to the call, and then we go on to the call. So we're both at least going in that general direction right away, not heading the opposite where we got to get to.
Yeah, I have a question. Since you're based in Wood County, right?
Yes, sir.
If we had staff, full-time staff here, in our facility, whether they're a mixture of on-call people here that would be local or people that had the ambulance here at their home or actually were here in our barn, would you be dispatched from Wood County?
That's something we would look at, once we got a definite yes or no, whether it
Because,
was
I mean,
us.
there's another 1.5, 2-minute delay there from Adams County because our people are gonna call there first, and then Adams County is gonna relay the call up to Wood County.
And I just wanna clarify that because, we did receive information from Sheriff York. They won't relay. Whoever we have, they want them to use Adams County Dispatch. It gets too confusing, so.
They
we
wanna
would-
stop that,
That practice would end with, if we brought on a new contractor, we would,
okay, so
we
that's
would write
something,
into
I guess
contract.
that answers the question
Yeah.
for me then,
Yeah.
okay, so.
that's something you guys
Yeah.
would have to deal with then.
Yeah, currently we deal with 3 different dispatchers right now.
Okay,
We deal with Wood County Dispatch, Portage County Dispatch, and we actually have our own internal dispatch also. So going to a 4th dispatch would not be unusual for us. We can
Okay.
make that work.
Do you know off the top of your head all 6 of the municipalities that you currently serve? I just think it's a.
Yep, we currently serve the town of Grant, the town of Seneca, the town of Siegel, the village of Rudolph, the town of Rudolph, and the town of Grand Rapids.
I'd also just like to say one thing about the cost per capita. As Dan mentioned here, $16.07 or whatever it is ridiculously low. So we know for a fact we're going to have to increase that per capita rate if we're going to have any kind of reliable ambulance service, something that would be better than what we have right currently. And $32, if it went to $58, from my point of view, per residence would be almost nothing in most people's minds, I would think, to have a reliable service. And if we went to $88, that's a $72 and some odd change increase. That's a lot more, but still, if we have a reliable service, I think it's worth it.
Right, and like it was said earlier in the meeting, by having more municipalities involved, I guess we have the Southern Board, our 6 townships we service, municipalities we service, are on an ambulance board. And by having more on board, then your per capita down, as you see, went from 88 down to 60, whatever it was I said.
Yeah, we can't speak for Monroe and Big Flats, so
Right.
they were at our meeting, so they are slowly coming up to speed. So hopefully they'll be in a position to give an answer at some point in time.
Again, they verbally agreed that we could reach out and get the costing. The rest would be
Yeah.
their decision.
I agree with you that we want to have reliable ambulance service, but when the average in the state is around 35, 45 per cap, to go from the basement to the roof is I don't know, that doesn't sit well with me. We've got legwork to do here yet.
And I'm happy to reach out to those south of us and see get a copy of their agreement, get a copy of what it would mean to join. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to reach back out to Wisconsin Rapids. I wanted to have this conversation after we open the RFPs with the town board directly and also show them what the follow-up information was before we took it that next step.
Does it make sense, this is a question for the board, to also, as Jamie mentioned, reach out to Rapids and Washora, and who else United is here and represented, but Rapids and Washora, Lifestar would be a part of discussing with the folks to the south, but what are you willing to provide and what's the cost? And maybe a B alternative. One is what's ideal for you guys, and B is what's ideal for us, is having an ambulance sitting in the garage here most of the time.
Definitely, that's
Like we tried
key.
the RFP route, and no offense, but it didn't yield what we were hoping it would yield. So,
Yeah, but again, we're one community,
right,
and if somebody's gonna come in like Lifestar up here, for one community, the price is gonna be high, or
Yeah.
right.
And we're also
Yeah.
asking that we're staffed here 24/7, as opposed to maybe just 8 to 8 in the day, or
Correct.
7 to 7.
The proposal is a 24/7 staffed ambulance at ALS level.
Now, if we got an EMS district, where you're talking several communities, that opens up a different picture for those services.
I think it's still going to take us quite a bit of time to work this out, and I'll be honest with you guys, I think we might need to be having some special meetings and doing things in real time. Like, I'll work around my schedule to be available, but I don't think we can wait 2 weeks at a time to do this.
Having good ambulance service, number one, we
Yeah.
gotta get
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
on top of the list.
How do we feel about reaching out to the municipalities that are currently served by Nakusa Ambulance and starting the
Specifically,
conversation?
the two that were
Yeah,
here
I
on
think we
Monday?
should.
Not just the two that were here, but all of
Expand
them.
it out to,
All 12,
Yes.
Well-
11.
Yes.
But let me make one thing clear. My intent is not that Rome becomes a leader in creating yet another district of some sort. I think we need to put our ego in the closet for this one, and let's worry about getting the best service we can. Not about reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, but I think the more municipalities that we reach out to, the more that might be on board. And as we've seen, just with the, if Big Flats and Monroe came in, that cost drops
Way down,
dramatically.
yes.
But let's keep an eye on the bigger picture here. Do we want to be the ones that put Nakusa Ambulance out of business because we went and reached out to their whole service area? I think it's one thing for Monroe and Big Flats because they're on the southern end, they're past us, and they've already been participating in this to a very limited degree. But to go north of here, I think is maybe not appropriate.
I don't agree with that. I think we have to look out what's best for Rome, and if it includes expanding in any direction, we do it. Personal opinion.
Be careful of the ramifications.
And we did mention in the last set of notes we sent back up here then too, if you do decide to go to a ambulance district, ambulance board, whatever you want to call it, consortium, we're more than open to let us know and we can put numbers together again for you.
Lori?
I would hope that you would seriously consider and listen to what Dan is saying, because we have been down this path before, as Jerry and I and Dan were all together, I believe, when we signed that contract, and Nakusa almost went under once before. You have to consider Rome first. We are your constituents, and we need an ambulance ALS here now. That's your responsibility. And that meeting I went to the other night as a constituent of yours, they can't get their act together right now. They've got a
Exactly.
problem. They've got a real problem. And unfortunately for them, they've been dealing with this for quite some time. In January was their first meeting to start dealing with their 2022 contracts. You have an opportunity to look south of us, and I've been telling you that for quite some time, and they've got it together, and they've got a very good plan. Monroe and Big Flats are our closest neighbors, and that might be part of the reason why you didn't get a response from Lifestar. They're in between what they service now and Rome. Maybe that's why they didn't respond. Just a thought. I don't know. But think about Rome, and then maybe think about our neighbors, Big Flats and Monroe. But to start reaching out of all these other neighbors, that's Nakusa's problem. Let them deal with it. Think about Rome and what we can do with our closest neighbors first, and then start thinking bigger. But not right now, because they're common council. They're all over the place. They want to look at buying a new ambulance and
And I would
creating
say
debt.
this, I would add to what Lori's saying too, it doesn't look like it's gonna get any better anytime soon up there.
No, and they've got staff, but they don't know what to do with the staff. They've got
They don't have staff,
they're
they have
all over the place.
volunteers. They're all volunteers.
Well, and they're good people, but they're just so disorganized, and they don't have it together, and we can't depend on them right now. And so you've got your own thing. You've got us to concern yourselves with. Take care of us. Maybe our closest neighbors that we've had good relationships with before. Use that ambulance board down there as an example. They worked hard. They worked long. They've got a good program down there. Figure it out with them. Use them maybe, and let them do what they need to do, but let's cut the ties now. Thank you.
I look at it from another point of view too. Again, to Dan's point, Dan Minter, you had Town of Monroe and Big Flats, and you just lop $30 off. If you bring in one or two more towns, you're in the same ballpark.
Could be, I think it depends on the total population.
Yeah, well, those aren't big, but I'm thinking Saratoga, something along that line.
And if I can add one thing, which kind of jogged my memory a little bit here, we talk about they start negotiating 2022. The townships we've been dealing with, the exception of Town of Grant came out a little bit later, we've been dealing with since 1980. We've had two back-to-back 10-year contracts with these townships, which is unprecedented in the EMS world. So it kind of shows to the service that we do offer at that time.
Thanks for everything you were able to provide. Not saying you have to go sit down. But
Okay.
I was gonna make an unrelated comment. So
Okay.
if you didn't want to awkwardly stand there.
No, that's fine.
My only thing is, again, getting back to this whole fire district thing that we looked at. that blew up pretty hard, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. But you're talking about towns that have built their own empires within, and then here's Rome saying we're going to do this, it's going to be great. And what do they get out of it? What do the people that spent time building that get out of it? They get yet another layer of bureaucracy above them, right? So that's my caution in Rome leading any sort of charge is to build any sort of ambulance district. I think it's on the heels of something that was not very tasteful or palatable to the other communities. So that's my perspective.
I think
on it.
we should look to the south. If you go north, I mean, if you want to consider Saratoga, that's 10 miles north of us. It's a heck of a lot closer to Nakusa for them to serve. So I would say what we ought to do is look to the south.
I agree. Should check, see what the options are south.
Jason?
Just to echo on what Dan said, I would doubt that the district is, as he said, they're under contract until December 31st of 2024 for a very reasonable rate. So I doubt they're gonna wanna let us in before that. So we could technically go anywhere that we could get an ALS service for 3 years, but I wouldn't wanna go with a contract longer than 3 years. We found out what happened with Nakusa. We went with a 5-year contract and it kind of fell apart over the 5 years. That's an awful long time if you're not affiliated with a district that has a lot more leverage over these services than what a town of 2,700 people does. Nakusa has bent us over the barrel.
Yeah, we should probably be thinking about a 1-year contract with an evergreen clause.
Or if there is an opportunity and Adams County Ambulance Board sees a future, then you do some in parallel interim contract if the other communities get on board. And there's a agreement at the end of that where we're a part of that and the other communities are a part of it. And then here's the larger collective bargaining power for whatever ambulance service wants to bid for the whole coverage area, right?
I also agree going into Nakusa territory or mentioning the town of Saratoga is hurting relations that those entities that represent Saratoga feel towards the town of Rome. There was a lot of issue with the fire district thing that blew up because that's covered by Wisconsin Rapids, and here we go in there saying we want to create a fire district and take that ambulance and
Well, we
service
never
away
said
from
that,
another
though.
entity.
We just were gathering information, and
They didn't,
the only reason we were
yeah.
there is because we were trying to improve the ambulance service that we've got.
But it wasn't taken that way. It was taken that you're trying to take it away from
Yeah.
Wisconsin Rapids, who covers that. And
Okay, fine.
if you go back up there and try and take stuff away from Nakusa, it's just going to sour relations more than they already are.
We don't wanna do that.
I'm kind of a newbie on this stuff, but when we attended the meeting up in Saratoga, that was a lot more geared towards the fire department, I think, at that point, and everybody's got their own equipment and the whole ball of wax. I think your ambulance, they don't have an ambulance service in Saratoga or all these other towns. We're talking a different animal in my mind, so to me, it's not the same, not the same.
Saratoga's provided service through the city of Wisconsin Rapids. So Wisconsin Rapids Fire provides Saratoga service now.
Okay, I'm aware of that, but in any case,
I guess,
next step.
yeah,
So-
for tonight, I'm not sure if you wanna make a motion or you wanna just have it by consensus and be part of the minutes, but I'm hearing we wanna contact South, being both Big Flats and Monroe with the information that we found, but also the EMS district about either using that as an example, or what would it mean to have a interim agreement where we would also be a part of that?
Do we want to also reach out to Rapids specifically and see if they can provide us feedback at least as to why they didn't respond?
Or additional feedback?
I think we need
on-
to find out why some of these didn't respond. I had a question too on, you're saying $26 it was at Lifestar, is that for service here?
No, I'm saying that's what the current contract that the ambulance county, I keep forgetting the name, ambulance board has with Lifestar.
Okay.
Started at 2604 in 2020.
Where's the closest ambulance located at?
Adams.
Adams, in the city of Adams. They built a new station in the city of Adams.
But
So
if
we're
we,
not talking apples to apples. As
Well,
far
no.
as service, so.
but what do you mean?
We're talking about a car, an ambulance here.
Okay,
in the
but
barn.
think about it. So if that was attractive to them and that board to expand the coverage area up here, include Big Flats and Monroe, I did a little bit of math. Okay, so ignoring the revenue they get from the runs, that's 108,000 for Lifestar right there. and then whatever they get on top of that for the runs.
I'm not against
Use
talking to them.
George's numbers
By
that
any
we had
means, but
before.
I think you got some more
164.
research to do.
I think we should
And then-
contact the ambulance board and see if they want to incorporate us with their
Well, I don't know
process.
if they can based on the language in the
Yeah.
contract, but they might be willing to help us work towards getting something ironed out, and then that becomes a future path.
And then the city of Wisconsin Rapids, not only to ask it about the RFP, but also on the potential of getting something ironed out if this isn't an option or no.
I think so. I think we need to understand
Yes.
more than anything.
Yeah, I also agree. We should schedule another meeting if need be, ASAP.
Yeah. What is it? I mean, we could do it. 3 days is reasonable, right? 3 days notice.
Well,
But the minimum statute
24
is
hours.
24 hours, but I don't know that we need to do that unless we really have to.
We have another ambulance subcommittee meeting also, and those are quorum notice, so
Yeah.
if the board could attend that, we can continue to work through every 2 weeks, less if we need to, but we do have another one of those on.
My only concern is we need the agenda has to be concise if we piggyback on the ambulance subcommittee.
Mm-hmm.
Like my intent would be if we're meeting to specifically talk about information that's available that we could potentially act on.
Yes.
I don't want to spend a bunch of time theorizing what we might do.
And we can limit that agenda for the next meeting.
So you've got the ball on this one?
Well, I will start making some calls, and we will see.
Now?
Hey, this is one of the reasons I ran. I'm making no mistake about it. So
Yes.
let's get something ironed out here.
Can I
We
add a
know,
couple
we
more
know,
things?
we don't have coverage for the rest of the year here, so.
Right.
And not here,
Fine.
yeah, we do have coverage, just
Yeah,
not
coverage,
in
yeah.
our
Time
section.
time
Not
is
what we
still
expected.
of the essence, though. So.
If I could add a couple more things, there was some questioning into why the very wide variance in the per cap rates versus like Lifestar's rate in Adams versus what was quoted here in Rome. There's no availability for hospital transfers out of a station in Rome. We do not have a critical access hospital here that brings in patients and stabilizes them and then moves them to a higher level of care, such as they do at Gunderson in Adams. And Lifestar makes a ton of money by taking those patients and moving them to another facility. And as stated in their contract, they have 2 ALS rigs there, but they only have to keep one. The other one's available to go out and do those transfers. And that's where they're making their money and offsetting their costs to be able to be in town. Point blank, that's exactly where they're making their money.
Right. So if we go down that route, then that's something we need to carefully craft language in a contract to make sure we don't get bit by them doing
Right,
that.
and being stationed here in Rome and having one here 24/7 doesn't allow that ambulance to go out and make those transfers. That's why they raised that per cap
Right.
so high.
But they also would have a number of ambulances in their fleet in the coverage area to move around as they see fit.
Correct.
So
Yep. Second one was that Saratoga's in a long-term contract with the City of Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department, and they're very happy with them. They have made no qualms about standing up and saying that point blank. There's geographical limitations to servicing other communities that Nakusa services. We have a lake in between us, with one bridge at Highway 73. They service that entire west side of the lake down to the city border of Necedah. We could not even think about trying to do that station here, basing ourselves in Rome. That's what I got.
Good.
Thank you.
thanks, Mark.
Got marching orders. Any more discussion on this one? When is the next meeting for the subcommittee?
The 9th, is that Monday? Yes,
What time?
4:00. Let me just double check my calendar to make sure. Yep, Monday at 5, police and fire is at 4 on that Monday, so the ambulance services subcommittee will be at 5
You have to get a notice out today or tomorrow.
tomorrow. Notice will go out tomorrow.
Lori, we're about done on this, so.
I
make
just
what-
want to ask a quick question. What is your ambulance subcommittee meeting going to be about then, if you're giving her a different direction?
she's gonna be on the phone tomorrow doing some work, and then also, they're the experts, we're gonna be listening to them, but we need more information, obviously. So, are you gonna have more information for them on Monday? That's a good point.
We may, but depending on who we can get a hold of by 5, I mean, because we'd have all day tomorrow and all day on Monday.
And that meeting's already been posted, right?
It will be posted tomorrow, because that agenda will be scaled down to only this conversation.
If they don't have information for us, we don't have to attend, but we can still schedule another one shortly after, so. Everybody good with that?
Hopefully we can, maybe at a minimum, get a representative from Adams County up here to talk, but if there's nothing, then there's no
It's been
sense in
short
having a
notice,
meeting.
but
Yeah.
Ask them. You don't have it posted yet. And there's nothing set in stone that meeting has to be Monday night at 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and if
have
that's,
posted by tomorrow night.
yeah, it would have to be posted tomorrow by.
We're also gonna pass that information on to Big Flats and Monroe as to what the cost would be with our RFP,
Yes.
if they joined.
Yes.
Good.
We will share that likely yet tonight. But even then, depending on what I can find out tomorrow, maybe we try to delay that meeting a little bit into next week. So,
Good.
I was gonna suggest in it for a week, give you some time to get some information, so
well, and, yeah, the week after would be town board right away again, so,
well, you reach out tomorrow and you
Yep.
figure out what the best course of action is.
yep, and then I'll just be in communication. I guess the other piece of it is, given the timeline, given the conversation, given our direction, maybe we say, because the ambulance subcommittee was a subcommittee, maybe we say we've gone through the RFP, they've opened it, we would dissolve that and just take care of it at the town board from here on out.
I'd be fine with that because we'll probably be having special meetings anyway. So,
I agree.
Okay, so I'll reach out to along with the calls, ambulance services subcommittee and let them know thank you. And that if they still want to continue to be involved to attend the town board meetings, then I can let you know if we need a special one next week or if we'll just go in our regular bi-weekly timeframe. That'll also allow me to reach out to them and see if they could make our meeting on the 19th, which would have Joe at it also from Nakusa Ambulance. So,
Yeah, if somebody else could attend, Mark, it is good having his expertise and Jason's background, so that helps, very helpful.
So, Mark, let me just ask you one more time about the interfacility transfers. If they would have no opportunity for that, if they transfer a person, say, from here to
Riverview?
Riverview, then that person maybe have to go to, say, Wausau or Marshfield. They would have no opportunity to do that?
The Riverview Hospital is an Aspirus hospital,
Yes.
and they have a staffed ambulance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, parked right next to the hospital.
For that.
Staffed by Medevac, which is Aspirus's company, corporation ambulance service. So the vast majority of anything that leaves Riverview goes with Aspirus Medevac.
Okay.
Their 911 emergent stuff that cannot wait. The guy's having a heart attack in the hospital. Gets transferred by Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department. If that was Aspirus ambulance is already gone. Otherwise they'll call an Aspirus ambulance from Stevens Point, from Wausau, to keep that internal, because you don't give away your own money. That's Lifestar being stationed a half a mile from Gunderson in Adams Friendship. Puts that opportunity for them. Gunderson Hospital is a critical access hospital. They stabilize the patient to a certain level, and then they get moved on to a higher level of care, which for the vast majority of the time goes to Gunderson La Crosse, because you don't give away your own money. So that's where, coming from here, we asked for an ambulance in town 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that would not leave them the opportunity to make those transfers without a second ambulance being in place, because we always want one here available for 911.
Okay. So that's the increased cost.
6 o'clock. Did I answer it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
can I speak to that? Part of our plan we proposed.
Go ahead.
So part of the plan we proposed was with this, in order to have backfill at the station here. In the event that we would take a transfer out of Adams, out of wherever, utilizing the station because it's closer to Adams and Rapids, obviously, is our rig from Rapids comes down and our secondary rig takes over primary 911 calls in Rapids. So even if we took a transfer out of this station, we'd still have 911 service covered for you guys. And that was, I think, mentioned, kind of laid out in the plan. Hopefully it made it clear in the plan. So.
Okay.
Because you have enough ambulances to be able to do that.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anything more on 11? Moving on, 12, discussion and possible action, 2022 budget priorities and calendar discussion.
So there was a fairly lengthy memo in your town board packet tonight, just starting off the budget season for the year, talking a little bit about how we're gonna be putting forth our year-end projections. A memo was released to all of the department heads today about that and asking for year-end projections. We're still waiting for insurance numbers to get from the state. We do know when open enrollment is, which is, it starts at the end of September, so we should have them by that point in time, but are truly hoping we're not looking at double-digit increases now with that move to the state and being part of a much larger network. I do just wanna really point out for a second our savings with the workers' compensation. We've been working hard on that and have, we knew that we were gonna be subject to some 3-year increases here at the town, and we have, that number is, that dollar amount has finally gone down to $32,819. I did note the 2 priorities in the memo that we've discussed with the transition of the board, being roads and brush and timber, and we would work those into the budget. But if there are additional ones that you want to discuss tonight that we should be working into the budget, or reach out and contact me, we would start those as we start the conversation with the department heads to put forth numbers for the 2022 budget. I did also include our preliminary equalized value, net new growth, and TID value in the packet. Preliminary always comes out on or around August 1st, final comes out on or around August 15th. It's not usual that there are changes, but they do a preliminary and final in case there are errors that need to be corrected. So equalized value did very well this year. Our net new growth was 1.75%, which was strong. The TID value did decrease, but that's not because of the value of the TID going down. That was because of an error in reporting personal property. That error in personal property did draw an overall decrease of 4% in the district, but the value of the district did still increase. That'll be covered as part of the joint review board, which will be held in early September, again with Ellers and Greg Johnson coming here in person. The only other thing I'll note is I did put in a tentative schedule to the packet for our special budget meetings, because we do usually have 3 to 4 special budget meetings. I did note an error there. That 4th meeting would be Tuesday, October 26th, not the 24th. 24th is a Sunday, so Tuesday, October 26th. We have met at 3 p.m. for those. I don't know if that will work this year, but I didn't know if everyone had checked those dates on their calendar and if that would be an option for budget hearings. And then if we're all in agreement that Thursday, November 19th would work for the annual meeting, we'd add that to a future agenda. We do have to add that to an agenda and actually formally move that that's our annual meeting if that date and time works.
I'd prefer 4 o'clock or later for these.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have 2 members that, of the board that are working members yet.
Finally, 2 members of the board are working.
That's what the rest of us.
The rest of us are
Yeah.
regular.
I'm good
Find the
anytime.
benefits of being retired.
So we might have to adjust, because the 2 that are on Thursdays would be town board meetings. We had worked it so it'd be at 3 o'clock and then we'd have a little break and go into board because it was kind of a board day. So we might have to switch those 2 Thursday meetings to a slightly different day, because I don't know that an hour would be enough for budget and then board.
Try and, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Try and
Might
manage the budget or manage the agenda for the board meeting anyway to be fit in whatever hour slot it needs to or whatever.
I think we'd be better off having those meetings on a separate day from the board meeting. So,
Is there a day of the week that works better for everyone that I should be trying for, or like Tuesdays better than Wednesdays, or Wednesdays better than Thursdays.
Stay away from Fridays, because I'm not gonna.
The only, the only day of the week that wouldn't work for me is the third Tuesday of each month. Stay away from that, and I'm okay.
You'll have to stay away from all the other town meetings that I have. That's my recommendation.
Okay, so, if you can hold September 28th at 4 p.m., we'll confirm that one. And, Tuesday, October 26th at 4 p.m., we'll confirm that one, and I'll get back to you on the other two.
Do we wanna make it 5 rather than 4? Dan time to at least catch his breath.
Let's not make it too easy on them.
5 o'clock's a great time.
Okay, we can make them 5.
People can maybe come to our budget meetings.
Sure.
Okay. and then
Thanks for the
whatever-
consideration, Jerry.
Pardon?
So thanks for the consideration.
Just there, like you said, there's other members of the community that would like to come that have also work
Yes,
regular schedule.
probably better.
So I'll be back in touch with those other 2 meeting times. I'll email those. If I do calendar invites, is that best? Then you guys could just load them to your calendars?
Sure.
Okay, sounds good.
Pizza and beer?
What was that?
Pizza and beer?
No, no pizza and beer.
Unless you're bringing it.
Maybe.
Number 13, discussion of possible action, review WRS eligibility status criteria for changes in employment status.
So again, there was a lengthy memo in the packet, talking about this and some examples that were provided. We've had, requests both for individuals to pick up hours that would qualify them for WRS and for employees to reduce hours. I did note in the memo that, specifically the conversation came up because former fire chief would like to rejoin the department as a volunteer. The way that WRS works is if you work 1,200 hours on a rolling calendar year, you qualify with the employer. Once you qualify, you always qualify. You cannot waive that coverage unless you actually take a retirement annuity with them. The only way that that coverage ends is if you have a year-long separation and then would rejoin the employer. When we switched insurances last year and went to the state insurance, what qualifies you for health insurance is qualification for WRS. Given that they have to do this across the state, I would assume that's what made it less complicated for them also to determine coverage, right? So just having the conversation, it was felt it's sort of a policy decision for us to consider here, but I also want to make sure that we are consistent across all staff members, that would be treated fairly. Again, at this point, the policy has been to keep part-time people below that 1,200 hours on a rolling calendar year because we do rely on part-time staff, and then to have that separation because of the additional cost of both the WRS and the qualifying for benefits.
It's been a long time policy, and now it's the additional cost is compounded by the insurance element.
Right. Yeah, if it wasn't for the additional insurance costs, I've always felt that there's cases where we're better off to pay WRS on some of the employees rather than have to bring in somebody else that's inexperienced and train them, where we have an experienced man or person that has been on the staff but can't work because he hit the 1,200 hours. So, but now it's like Dan said, it's compounded. The price is sky high. Where it used to be 7%, of their wage. Doesn't go far. You have to train somebody.
And the cost benefit analysis of the insurance is just, again, we're a small group, so claims impact us a lot. And we were always facing those double-digit increases. So this is a downside of that, of the insurance, but the upside is we're in a much larger network. We don't face those huge increases. We're able to provide, insurance that people could use all across the state and select a plan. It's a cost benefit.
We're
Also,
not
you gotta-
exactly in danger of running out of additional part-time people, are we?
We always have interest in people that
Right.
part-time. I mean, we're fortunate in the sense that we do have,
I know
Our-
we've got a lot of machine operators that are trained who work part-time,
Mhm.
and they're probably hard to replace. But other than that, hopefully we can continue to find part-time people to fill the gap.
Yeah, we were in discussion on this, and there's a lot of pluses and minuses in both ways. If you got two part-timers here and one's getting all these benefits and the other one isn't, that's a fairness issue. You've got the other one, again, where your insurance costs could go and now you're stuck. So, I mean, felt it was something we were needed to discuss and come up with one policy and make sure that's what we stick with for consistency. So,
Also, when you start exceeding the 1,200 hours for part-timers, a high number of those will probably be retired. And those have a higher insurance rate because they have more claims usually when they're elderly and retired. So that could affect your overall insurance costs too.
I'm sure there are some retired people that bring their own insurance and are not interested in health.
It's possible.
yes, and that's another good point. It isn't that they would have to take the health insurance. They
Right.
might choose not to, but it does have to be offered, and then it does have to be extended every year at open enrollment. But they might choose not to take it. You are correct.
yeah, but that's not our option.
Yeah.
We don't have an option.
We
But
have to have a budget for it.
yeah, you hate to dissuade anybody with experience, but
Hey, after 1 year, welcome back. Hate to be that way, but the implications of this is we're not talking about just one person. We're talking about a policy that applies to every department, right? So
Yes.
that's across the board then, right?
It is across the board. The other piece of it would be, I mean, again, if the conversation is it wouldn't be across the board, how would we set that up? I mean, Attorney Flanagan brought up a good example. We have the telecommuting policy. Is telecommuting an option for everyone? No, but we have a standard set of options that we go through to do that. So if we would, whatever the consideration is, we'd have to come up with that standard set of options that this would go through if it would be an option.
Nick, do we need to make a motion on this?
I don't think so right now. You can give some direction to staff. We can put forward a policy if we're going to put together a policy where it's standard. And it'll be brought back to the board. But yeah.
Do we even-
think
I mean, we
unless
have a
Do we
policy.
need a policy? We have an existing one right now.
Do we have an
yeah.
existing policy that covers this?
Our
the existing policy says no part-timers over 1,200 hours.
we try to keep the part-time to 1,200 or less.
But that doesn't
Yes.
cover this
Yeah,
situation.
I'm talking about covering this situation.
Because this person would claim it on hour one.
He's trying to, so this is an individual that's coming back as part-time.
Hour one, covered. Jason?
Nick probably knows this better than I, but we're a small community. I can't see this happening more two or three times in a several year period. This year it actually happened twice in the year. One of my officers wanted to step down from full time. He was given the direction based on the policy that he had to separate for a year. And as a department head, that's what I would want because I don't have the budget money to pay that. Now in the fire department, maybe that's different with their individuals, and in the highway department, maybe it is. I don't see why we couldn't have a policy that says before somebody's allowed to come back within that year period, the town board has to make that decision after a memo goes out from the department head or administrator saying the pros and cons. Somebody may have a skill set that you
Absolutely.
wanna
yeah.
bring them back and pay that, where others don't, and there's a pool that you could hire off the street for that job, as somebody with a lot of expertise, you may wanna bring them.
Yeah, but at some
Back
point,
part-time.
yeah, but then you gotta be careful, cause this reeks of discrimination to me, hiding behind the WRS flag, saying, no, you can't.
That's why I said it's probably more in Nick's wheelhouse if you can make a case-by-case basis.
Well, you can. You can make a case-by-case basis, but you better set your criteria in the policy.
You have to be very strict on it then.
It's easier to me to stay away from it, but.
So, I mean, that's the direction I think that.
Well, the policy could
We're
state that
looking
they'd have to have a specific skill that's in requirement for us that we can't get elsewhere.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
It's hard
really,
to
really
anticipate
broad.
that though, down the
Yeah,
road.
that,
I don't know.
that's a place
I'm
to
sure you
start.
could wordsmith
Place to
that.
start from. But I think what the administrator was referencing was looking for some guidance from the town board on what to put together in a policy. I'm not sure that we have a policy that covers this right now, this situation. Good practice to have one, and we can work on that and bring it to you, but we're looking for an idea of, do we just set a black and white policy, you know, that the year break before?
There has to be something. This came up on when I was on the board previously. There has to be something.
Yeah, I'm
don't
not
know
sure
what's
that there
hiding.
is. I know the board considered it. I think, I don't know that there was a policy. It just went to the board.
I think what came up before is people reached the 1,200 hours that were part-timers. I don't recall anyone that was full-time
Coming back.
resigning, and then that automatically drops them in because they're already enrolled. It's always been the other way around, where people got close to the 1,200 hours and they came before the board to say, yes, you can exceed the 1,200 hours, or no, you can't.
Yeah, I agree, that's the way it's been in the past.
We have to come to an agreement. Let's just do it.
Yeah, I think we should craft a policy that says, for the most part, if you want to come back as part-time, you have to be off for a year unless you have some specific skill that we require. Some unusual skill.
It have to be approved by the town board.
Right.
Is that fly, Nick?
Gives us a starting point. Again, nothing you're doing tonight is approving any policy. We just need some direction so we can craft it, then we can revise that even, when you all, see the policy in front of you. So I think that gives us a good starting point. We can work on some language, bring it back to you, and then, get your direction from there.
But the standard you're saying would be a year separation unless there was some specific
In
town.
my mind, that would be it,
I
yeah.
think you're gonna have a hard time defining what those specific skill sets are in advance, right? So
Yeah, I
again,
don't disagree.
discrimination when it comes up is, oh, yeah, that's not the skill set we're looking for. But
This,
Well,
take a
maybe
crack
it would
at-
never happen, but that doesn't mean you can't have a clause that says it could possibly happen.
just a suggestion too, I'm sure we're not the only towns that has faced this. Has it happened somewhere else in the state of Wisconsin? Is there a resource to,
Yeah, it's happened in other municipalities I represent.
Okay.
In those cases, it's gone in front of the board,
so,
the governing body, and they've made a decision based off of it.
Could you give a percentage on how many of them have the separation and how many don't? Or
No,
don't?
I couldn't. I can say that it's a good idea to have this in a policy, and the more specific and neutral we can be, the better.
sounds like that's what the homework is.
so we're working on that.
Thank you.
All right, number 14, discussion and possible action, approval of resolution number 21, amendment to the general personnel and benefits policy manual, policy number 2.05, personnel hours.
So again, the resolution with the updated policy and track changes was in the packet. This, you can see, does take off the Rome Water Utility Commission, because now those are established here with the town. But it also, under rest periods, makes it consistent across departments. We found there was some inconsistency, and this makes what we call a rest period for every 8 hours worked, a 30-minute paid break. And that 30-minute paid break would be offered even if you were part-time, if you were working a full 8 hours, that it has to be taken at your department location. If by chance you were on a work site and would wanna come back to a central spot, that coming back and going back to your work site would be part of that 30 minutes, and that lunches can't be combined or accumulated to make a day shorter. We also, just under payroll, made a operational update for 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. We did recently just switch our payroll portal to go online, and through the software, that's a day, right? 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. So we're just clarifying that within our policy.
Have the department heads reviewed this with you and are in agreement with the language?
Yep, we talked about it at a department head meeting. It was emailed out to all of the department heads, and it was asked if they had concerns that they be shared before it went to town board.
Anybody have any other questions on this? And we will need a motion to approve this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution, with the proposed amendments to the general personnel and benefits policy manual, policy number 2.05, personnel hours.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 15, discussion of possible action, request from Lake Sherwood Property Owners Association for police coverage services present at the Sherwood 4th of July celebration, which took place July 3rd, 2021. I believe they want coverage to be,
They're asking
Covered.
if we would
Right,
waive the
waive.
$400 fee for coverage. It does say in here though, if we agree to waive the coverage, because they had already issued the check, they'd like to offer that check to be put into the Parks and Recreation Fund.
I didn't get a check.
I think we did, I think it's in the safe.
Okay.
You got one, I know you did.
Well, I didn't receive it.
thoughts?
Bookkeeper's too efficient,
It's a nice gesture, I would say.
well, I figure that's a good cause for it, good place for it, I mean.
Parks and Rec Committee would endorse it.
Well, we've got two opinionated people here, I guess, so, Dan, what's your thoughts?
I have no opinion on this one.
Dan, okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, somebody make a motion, I'm
We
sorry.
didn't make
Somebody make a
motion,
motion.
right?
Oof, get
Move
it.
that we waive the police fee for the Lake Sherwood Properties Association July 4th celebration.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Can I amend that?
Sure.
And that we accept their donation of the previously issued $400 check for the Parks and Recreation Fund.
Thank you. I was gonna say.
Very good.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. The town board will go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 sub 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. RE, commence bargaining of Rome Professional Police Association successor agreement. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to go in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Stat, section 19.85, sub 1, sub C.
Second.
Can I get a roll call vote, starting from my left?
Cuisinart, yes.
Minter, yes.
Asbill, yes.
Goldman, yes.
Barhide, yes.
We are now in closed session. Okay, number 17, the board reserves the right to come out of closed session and go into open session authorized by Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, subsection 2, to possibly take action from the closed session and continue with the agenda. Can I get a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Second.
A roll call vote from my right, left, I'm sorry. Keep it
Cuisinart,
consistent.
yes.
Minter, yes.
Asbill, yes.
Goldman, yes.
Barhide, yes.
Okay, we are out of closed session. Dates and items for future agenda meetings. Number 18, next agenda items.
So the next meeting, we, obviously will have a large amount of ambulance discussion on that. We did also say that that would be the meeting that we would hold to have a conversation about fire chief. I'm not sure if we wanna move that one to the second and focus on that ambulance piece. That would be, for the fire chief position, it would be, reviewing that position description and talking about getting ready to advertise that position out.
I would suggest we hold that one until September 2nd. I think the ambulance is gonna be the most high priority, I think.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we had a direction for the ambulance in time for the budget process.
Yeah.
For sure.
No kidding.
Yeah, okay, so we will leave ambulance as the focus, and if there are potentially other things that could wait till the September 2nd meeting, we'll have them wait till September 2nd.
Where'd you see the reference to the boat patrol? Is that in here?
And there will be some plan commission items.
There will be one rezoning request, yes, at least one.
Rezone and then, removing those conditional use
Yes.
permits.
Yep,
When's the next planning commission?
That's next
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
at 4 o'clock.
You bring up, they haven't done their agenda yet. I was just wondering about
They
what
have done their agenda.
they have done their agenda, it's already set?
Agenda goes up
Yeah,
Alright.
10
there's,
days, 2 weeks.
uh,
Make it
there's
next one then.
noticing requirements for the additional, the different public.
I just wondered if you guys would discuss that drainage issue that one gentleman was talking about earlier, just to start the conversation, I guess, on it.
well, we'll handle that one as staff.
Yeah,
You will?
we'll do that internally,
Okay.
before then, so we don't need to wait for a meeting to get the ball rolling with that one.
Okay, yeah. A friend of mine just built a house, but he made sure the drain, he's up a ways too, but he made sure the drainage is going right to the water, so, yeah. Anything else? You can take 12 off, right? That's gonna be set. Anything else? Agendas?
They fill themselves mostly.
Okay. Just magically appear. Number 19, next meeting date and time.
Is going to be Thursday, August 19th at 5 p.m.
Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.
You have 6:46.